7 years ago, I had 2 brainstem strokes, and I was profoundly disabled. But having a stroke is not uncommon. The American Heart Association tells us there are 700,000 new strokes in the United States every year. That's one every 45 seconds. What is uncommon is the amount that I recovered and what I learned in the process. I was 55 when I had the strokes, and in the middle of fulfilling what for me was my lifelong dream. All my life, I'd had this secret wish to illustrate a children's book, and there I was. The opportunity had finally come to me. The publisher loved my drawings and my concepts and told me I could start to paint. Took me 9 tries to get the first painting right and find my style, but I did, took it to the publisher, and she loved it. I was on a roll. Did the second painting, it was great. Did the third, it was wonderful. Started on the 4th when along came those strokes and picked me up out of that sunny, warm studio and set me down in the intensive care ward, where nobody knew for some days whether I would live or I would die. And when they finally determined that I would live, there I was. My left side was almost entirely paralyzed. My right side was wildly uncoordinated. I couldn't control it. I couldn't sit up. I couldn't walk. I had a feeding tube up my nose and down my throat. My speech was heavily slurred, and I couldn't focus my eyes. My dream, or so I thought, was shattered. I want to show you what it looks like for the artist in me to have had a stroke. This is Howard. Howard was a friend of mine and a neighbor, and Howard died. The neighborhood came to me and said, "Would you draw a picture of Howard? We want to blow it up like this and turn it into a kite and fly it above the mountain at Howard's memorial service," because Howard loved kites. So I drew this picture about 2 weeks before the strokes. One day, weeks into my recovery, when I was in the rehab center all by myself, sitting in my wheelchair, I thought I'd find the courage and somehow I'd try and see if I could draw. Very carefully, with my right hand, I took out the pad of paper and the chalks, and I began to draw. And this is the best that I could do. When I did this, I wept. I had no idea at that point if I'd ever walk again, much less if I'd be able to paint and draw, and I sat in my wheelchair and I wept. Now it's 7 years later, and many things have happened. And one of the things that happened is 3 years after those strokes, that book was published, and here it is. When I had the strokes, I thought my useful life was over. I've been wrong many times in my life, and I'm sure I'm going to be wrong a lot more times. I've never been that wrong. What I've learned is that it's not what happens that makes the difference. Difficult things come into everybody's life sooner or later. What matters is how we deal with the challenges of our lives. Learning this, understanding to focus on the how, not the what, changed the course of my recovery. It transformed my life and the lives of the people around me, and has led me to possibilities I never dreamed I'd ever encounter. It's the how, not the what.